Hi, I'm Jenisha.
Hi,
Okay.
I'm Evan, and we're part of the Teen Arts Council at the ICA, and we are here doing an interview with Paul Sepuya.
So how did you first start getting into art slash photography?
Ooh. I was like always drawing and stuff. Like my mom still has all those like embarrassing like grade school paintings and watercolors and stuff up. But I was like drawing and painting and stuff. Like whatever your art classes had. I took some like painting classes at like Michael's, one of those like, like the mall art supply store. But I started playing around with like a camera in like maybe the end of middle school or early high school. And my mom had like a old Minolta 35 millimeter like camera that she had when she was in college for like a photo class. So she gave that to me and I just played around with it. And I just started taking pictures of like at school, like of like my friends or like people I wanted to be friends with. And I'd go to Target every day after school and get the film processed and make doubles and bring back pictures for people the next day. It was like a good way to, because I was like really shy. So it was like a good way to like do something and like have a way to interact with people. So that's kind of how I started. And then I took a photo class. I really didn't like my high school art teacher. We like did not get along. Um, but I had to get the credit done, so I took a junior college, like what is it, like a college class for high school students, that thing at UC Riverside. Um, the summer I had my driver's permit, so I was like learning how to drive and driving to UC Riverside and taking this black and white photo class. So that's how I got like really into photo and found out that like you could go to school for it. um, and then by chance, our neighbor across the street, my friend Malik's dad was a photographer and he had like a photo studio in the garage and he gave me one of the extra enlargers. So then my mom let me set up an enlarger in the garage and then I started processing my own black and white photos. So that's kind of how I got into it in high school.
How did your time at university shape you as an artist? If you have like one specific memory or something?
Oh, one specific memory. Um, oh God, I've like, maybe I would say like in like some of my photo classes, like just having a group of really amazing friends who like I'm still really good friends with to this day. Just like building up that trust to like have critiques and share our work and like be really honest and like sometimes mean, but like because like, you know, they care, not like being competitive to just like be me. But anyways, like building that kind of trust was really important. And then just like having 24-hour access to the photo labs and just like we'd go and like fill up go to the deli and fill up bags with food and stuff and then just like stay up all night long in the labs. That was really fun. I think that was really important.
So the next question is, when did you see a rise in popularity within your work, and how was that like for you? Like when did you start noticing that people were interested in your work?
Um, there's like two different times that's happened. The first was around 2005 when those first portraits started like really circulating online and then like in all these zines and stuff. And then it was like, oh God, there was even this like feature in the New York Times, like this new wave of like queer portraiture. And I don't know if you've seen any of the older portraits. They were just like very stark. I was just like photographing friends like in my kitchen or in my bedroom against a white wall. And at the time, everything was like David LaChapelle, like over the top, like sets and makeup and, you know, everyone was in Versace. And I mean, that was the stuff that I really loved. Anyways, I'm taking a detour. That was the stuff I forgot to say that got me into photography is I wanted to be a fashion photographer. And like, anyways, I wanted to like be taking those pictures of like Lil Kim just like covered in jewels, like on the cover of Interview magazine. It did not happen. But anyways, that was like the 2000s like portrait style. And I remember at first it was like all of they got really popular, partially because people were using them on their like Facebook profiles and their MySpace profiles and stuff, but also it was getting written up about like what's the deal with these really basic portraits? Like there's nothing in them. But then that became really popular in this way. So, anyways, that was this first time in it, and that's what made the work complicated. But then, um, about about 5 years ago, when I started making like the work on the mirrors, is when that changed again. Because it was a long and complicated story on how I got to making that work. Basically, I left New York, I moved back to LA, and I went to grad school. And I started making those work with the mirrors as a way of like dealing with all my baggage from New York. It's funny talking about this without having like pictures to like be like, and then you can point it out like this. But anyways, I left New York after being there for 14 years. I started making this work, and then after I left was the first time I started having real New York shows, which was ironic. I was like, ugh, while I was there, it was so hard. And now everyone wants to show the work. And what happened was, I think like media loves the story to always be like the new thing. So it was really funny, like that work started getting really popular. And suddenly it was like all of the years of work I struggled through in New York before got erased. And all this press came out like this new person, this first new show with these like interesting mirror works. And I was like, that's my like 11th time trying to put a show together. Like, what happened to all the loft shows I did at my friends' places? What happened to all the DIY things? What happened to all of these other things? And so that was really weird to deal with. Like, and I pushed back against it. Um, and I think now I've been able for people to look at the newer work and also see everything that came ahead of it. Because I don't think any artist just comes out of nowhere. There's a lot of like work and changes over the years.
As a person who's seen many different body types / sizes, what are your thoughts on like the societal pressure to have a certain body type, like the skinny, like no stretch marks, no acne? How do you feel about that?
That is one of those. Okay, this is also such a really good question, and one that I think has both. It's interesting looking back at my work and also kind of like looking forward and having so many more conversations with students who I think are kind of really leading the way in like making space. So basically one thing I found is like when I first started making the work, I was trying to get all of my friends, like people that I knew. And for all of these issues that you bring up, like we step into a world where these issues have been going on. So it wasn't until later that I realized a lot of people who I really wanted to photograph and declined, some people were really comfortable with the way I was making photographs, and some people didn't feel comfortable with being photographed partially nude or nude, etc. So there was this thing where both like my own selecting and people's maybe like a reluctance kind of like combined. Now looking back, that excluded a lot of people. Another thing was my work first started circulating in this like, at the time that like, I mean, it was just basically gay. Like I just call it capital G boring cis gay, like straight up gay space. The language around like queerness and transness and all this inclusivity was not nearly as developed. And so the work was kind of going in a specifically just gay place. And so many of the portraits of my friends who are women, who are trans, who have been gender fluid over the years, have been excluded from being exhibited. I've been like, And that's something that I feel like I never pushed hard enough to say like, I want this work to also be there. So now looking forward, like I've been really trying to be much more conscious of making space and making people feel more included in the work. And getting it out there is always a kind of it's always a push and pull with like the work that you have and then the things that platforms will also show. So I hope that answers that question. It's really complicated and it's one that I don't have answers to, but it comes up, I think, from really, really great students.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely answers my question because when I was looking at your work, it was like a lot of normal people, not like models or people who are like pretending to be something they're not. It was real people, which kind of inspired me, even if they're, I mean, you have a lot of representation. To me, as someone who's trans, I just looked at and thought these people are like absolutely gorgeous. So I honestly, I love your artwork. And so yeah, it definitely answered the question.
So everyone wants to know, waffles or pancakes?
Pancakes. I make the best cornmeal pancakes.
We love it. Dogs or cats?
Cats. I have a cat. I have no patience for dogs.
If you could meet any artist, who would it be?
Oh, that's really hard. I don't know. Maybe like whoever like made those cave paintings with like their hand and like some red berry juice or something. Like, I don't know, the artist from 50,000 years ago.
Okay. This is the end of the lightning round. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to interview you.